Because what you have here is you have the steadiness of that sequence, you have the solid bass foundation, but you also have the intentional velocity of that first initial sequence that we created. That's a beautiful tapestry. As a beginner in ambient music, it can be difficult to know where to start. Finding the right gear, finding the right software, finding the right tutorial can all be a challenge. However, that's where I come in. In today's video, focused on space and providing a sense of depth, I'm gonna walk you through the beginnings of an ambient music track so you guys can use the techniques that I show you in your own productions. Now, some of you might not have the software that I use in my video, and that's okay. The focus here is on the techniques, and you can obviously use any other software of your choice. I usually leave the links to all of the software that I use down below in the description of these videos. That being said, welcome in if you're new. My name is Chris from Signs of Life, and on this channel, we talk about synthesizers, we talk about software, and everything related to ambient music production. All right, so if you like this kind of video, make sure you smash that like button on the way in and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That being said, this channel is also on Patreon, so if you want to learn more, feel free to check out my Patreon page. I'll leave the link down below in the description as well. That being said, let's get into the video. Enjoy. This video is brought to you by Zounds.com. Want a new synth? Check out Zounds.com for all of your gear needs. They offer the best prices and most items ship for free to anywhere in the continental US. Plus, with their Play As You Pay financing program, you can get that sweet piece of gear you want at a price you can afford. Check the link in the description of this video right now and tell them Signs of Life sent you. Cheers and enjoy. This track is for beginners. We're just gonna go ahead and focus on the fundamentals here, and let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna lower the tempo here to around 70 beats per minute. And then I'm gonna pick a key. Let's go ahead and play in, say, F minor today. And we're gonna start out by making a pad in Pigments, all right? Pigments is a great choice. I think a lot of people use Pigments still. And it's a great synth that's really accessible for the beginner. So let's go ahead and make a new preset here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put this onto Sawtooth. And then I'm gonna lower the cutoff and turn it into a LP12 or a low pass 12 dB filter. Now, the first step is always to adjust the attack. So we're going to adjust the attack to around 5 seconds, adjust the decay to another 5 seconds, lower the sustain down to around 75%, and then make this 5 seconds as well. And what you're left with is something that sounds a little bit like this. All right, nothing crazy here. I'm going to put this through the pad bus. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to slightly open up the cutoff filter. Right? So you can start to hear some of the higher frequencies, okay? If you listen to the music of Martin Sturzer, he provides you some really simple and delicious pads. Like there's not much to the pads. That's not to say that they're very basic. They're just really understated and they just kind of sit back there in the mix. And I think that that's a great way to start as a beginner is just try to make something really subtle, right? So it's all about the use of effects. As you can see, I haven't used any crazy wavetables. We just use a sawtooth and the simple cutoff filter. Now, what you can also do is just some subtle motion with the LFO. So what we're gonna do is instead of having this on rate hertz, we're gonna change it to straight only. And then we're gonna move down to 8/1. And what we're gonna do is drag that LFO or click and assign, but we're gonna drag it over the cutoff filter. And as you can see, we've created a bipolar modulation right there. And just we're gonna lower the modulation amount down a lot. So it's just really subtle motion. You can adjust this to taste. There we go. Cool. All right, that's good. We're also gonna add some voices of unison. So come over to the unison tab over here. We're gonna add around 4 voices of unison and lower the detune amount just like this. Sounded good to me. All right. We can lower that cutoff down just a little bit more. We're going for that perfect balance. Now, I'm gonna put 2 different send effects on here. One is the Valhalla delay, dual dotted 8th note delay right here. This is the preset. You guys can screenshot this if you want. This is a
Really awesome delay plugin. I use it all the time in all of my music. And then I'm also going to use this preset, which is part of the stock collection, actually. This is called Release the Kraken in Valhalla Room. You can check that out as well. I'm going to add a little bit of that and a little bit of that, and it's going to sound like this. There we go. Very nice. I can also come over to the utility engine and turn on the sub oscillator right here and make that into a sine or a triangle and lower the output down a couple dB. And again, you can play with the position of the cutoff filter to really get the desired result here. It's all about balance between the cutoff filter and how much delay and reverb you have on it. That's what creates that really kind of spacious and wide effect on all your pads. All right. I like this. I like where this is going. This is cool. Let's get a little bit more motion in that LFO, and we will increase that right there. There we go. And we can also turn on the second engine here, and let's go ahead and keep this a sample, and we're going to make a granular thing. So let's come down to the Pigments 4 library, and maybe we'll grab one of these bell sounds. That might be cool. So we'll grab the bell, turn on the granular engine, and move the start time a little forward so we miss all that attack. That's good. I like this. It's also going through filter 1, which I like, because we're really trying to narrow down those frequencies. That sounds good to me. I like this. All right. Cool. You can mess with the direction here, the size, the density, anything you want. Perfect. Awesome. All right. There's our pad. Really simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. And so I highly encourage you guys to play with the amount of effects. If you don't have Valhalla Room or Valhalla Delay, of course, you can use the onboard delay and reverb. So I'm going to go ahead and make a MIDI clip here. Let's make it 8 bars, and we'll go like that. And let's just lay these notes in. Come over to draw mode. Switch off the fixed grid. And go ahead and draw these in. There we go. Very nice. Let's go ahead and give this a play. So it's got some motion to it, just some really subtle motion. It's got a nice wide sense of space. I really like it. It's got some granular action going on. This is cool. All right, great. Awesome. That's all we're going to do with the pad. The focus here is not so much on, making some crazy wide motion kind of thing. It's just on subtle amounts of delay, subtle amounts of reverb, subtle amounts of the filter, right? That's what it's really all about. So if you can get this far, you're off to a great start. Let's move on. All right. Now we're going to grab an instance of another synthesizer. It could be any synthesizer you want. I'm going to grab Serum. And what we're going to do is we are going to make a basic pluck in Serum, but we're going to draw in the notes by hand, and then we're going to add some delay. All right. So let's go ahead and just turn this filter into a 24 low pass filter. We're going to increase the drive, and I'll go ahead and hit stop there. We're going to increase the drive, and we're going to adjust our envelope to make the decay around a second. All right. And then we're going to make a second envelope and cut that off to a little bit shorter and tie that to the cutoff filter. And we're going to hit Alt, Shift, click, and make that unipolar. And we're going to lower it down just like this. All right, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to design a sort of sequence here. But what I really want to do is I want to emphasize the use of velocity in the sequence, because a lot of the times, really good velocity is used in different ways. You could use it creatively in the synth. You could use it in the distortion modes. You can use it like unison detune. I mean, you can go crazy with velocity, right? But one of the most obvious ways to use velocity is with filter cutoff and volume, right? However, with filter cutoff, if you draw in a sequence, you can really get creative about where those actual spikes happen. So what I'm going to do is make this 1/8, and I'll make this 2 bars long. And so we're going to draw in some notes. All right, let's go ahead and put it in scale mode, and let's draw in some notes here. Let's go ahead and just draw this in. We'll turn on the headphones so we can hear this. And I'm going to space these notes out, okay? And it's just going to be a simple sequence here. Let's go ahead. There we go. There we go. Let's go ahead and play right here. All right, cool. I made that C a C sharp. I like that. I like that. Okay, cool. So it doesn't sound like much, but here's what we're gonna do. What we're gonna do is come down and just lower the velocity down a lot on most of these. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna allow us to really emphasize, like say the last one, right? Or even this one right here, and then we're gonna put the velocity full. So you really wanna be intentional with the velocity. And back in Serum, what we can do is we can tie velocity to the cutoff right here and make its influence pretty significant. So at the beginning stages, when those first couple notes are coming in, the velocity is going to be very low. However, when that emphasized note comes in, it's really going to open up the filter. Check this out. Listen to what this sounds like. Right? That last note is like, whoa, like really strong, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and put this through the synth bus. We're gonna up the decay or the delay right here and really you see how like sublime that is? Because when you start to open up that filter with velocity, it takes it to a whole nother level. And this is just a sawtooth sequence. Like there's not much to this. However, it's like, oh, that's really wonderful. I love that. So that's exactly what it is. It's just a intentional way of using velocity that I think gets overlooked a lot. Like people think you just got to make a sequence and step pick and randomize the velocity like I do a lot of the time. But if you're intentional with it, it can be that much more powerful. So think about that. I'm gonna put a second oscillator through the filter and turn on this oscillator and give it a little bit of grit here, adding another wavetable. And then maybe even using that wavetable, again, intentionally, to put this through the FM. Adding a little bit more harmonics. I like that, I like that. There we go. Nice. This is all so subtle, like real subtle stuff. Okay, I like this. Now, if we put a span on the master fader, one thing that's really lacking is a strong bass presence, right? So we want to add a bass. And we can add a bass 10,000 different ways. You could add it with a hardware synthesizer. You could add it with just straight Vital. You could use Pigments there again. You could use Omnisphere. You know, like there's lots of different ways. Surge XT is a great one too. So let's just go ahead and use Hive. Because I love Hive for bass. Everyone who knows me knows this. And let's just go ahead and make a bass out of it, all right? Let's make this a long attack bass, okay? So we're gonna adjust our ADSR like this, where it's almost 3/4 all the way across the board. And lower our cutoff down. Give it some unison. Now this is something that, you know, could be controversial, but a little bit of unison goes a long way, especially when it comes to bass. Hive has already transposed to -12, so I think we might be good here playing like a F0 or an F1. And let's go ahead and add a sine wave as our sub oscillator. Turn on the volume and put that through the filter so it's activated. Let's hear how this sounds. Yeah, I like that. Very nice. A little bit of reverb there and the unison. That helps. I like that. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna draw in just one note. That's all I need right now for the sake of this demonstration. That's all I need. Just one note. Cool. So if we had a oscilloscope here, I mean, you can get close with the scope. You can see that those waves they're in motion because we have a little bit of detune there. We got some unison. The filter, we can move by putting this in sync mode. 8/1, tie it to the cutoff. Subtle filter movement. Does not need to be crazy. I mean, you can go so far with just making subtle, intentional adjustments. I think a lot of people make the mistake of overdoing things and just trying to put a bunch of modulation on just for the sake of having modulation when it actually doesn't need to be there. As you can see, for most of this tutorial, I've just used sawtooths and sine waves. All right. This is sounding good. Now, what would take this to the next level? The next level would be adding a bit more steady sequence, I think. Something that's going to complement that first sequence, right? And really give it some context. I'm going to put this through the synth bus and we'll design with effects off. Let's go back to, let's go to Vital. Let's go to Vital. All right. This is something that everyone can relate with because usually a lot of people use Vital, especially who watch this channel. So let's go ahead and lower the sustain down. 24 dB on the filter. Turn down the resonance. Turn on another oscillator. Basic shapes. Put that through the filter. And another envelope. Tying that to the filter. And that's cool. That's gonna get us pretty far because it's just the basic recipe, right? LFO1 on sync and put it on 8/1, tie it to the filter cutoff here. And we'll hear how this sounds. Sounded good to me. Okay. So let's go ahead and draw a straight up MIDI clip. We'll set it to 2 bars. And we'll do this old school. And by old school, I mean we're gonna draw this in by hand, okay? And this is gonna be very like, there we go. Okay. I mean, you guys saw me just draw that in by hand. And let's just go like this. We're also going to use some of this randomized velocity business in Ableton. All right. So we're going to select all the notes. Okay. I don't think you have to do that. But we're going to make the velocity range like this and we're going to randomize it. Okay. So now we got a randomized velocity range because the velocity can be anywhere in between these squares. We've also randomized its position, which is good. I like that. I like that. I like that. Only up. There we go. Oh, yeah. That would be a cool effect right there. All right. Let's go ahead and give this a play from bar 1. Ready? That's what I'm talking about. As the cutoff filter opens up. Oh yeah. That's gorgeous. I love it. Because what you have here is you have the steadiness of that sequence. You have the solid base foundation, but you also have the intentional velocity of that first initial sequence that we created. That's a beautiful tapestry. So if you could follow what I'm saying up to this point, you realize that number 1, it's about subtle intentional adjustments. Number 2, it's all about using basic waveforms and basic shapes and simple techniques to get great results. I'm using 1 delay and 1 reverb for the entire track. That's it. With proper use of velocity and filter position and using the right attack and decay times, like, this is the style of music that we're creating. And I know you can understand what I'm saying. However, in practice, it's a different story. But I want to encourage you guys to really push forward into making music like this, because it's 100% worth it to make it to the other side, knowing that how you got there was with sound technique that can be practiced and repeated over and over again. Fair enough? All right. Let's make one more track here. We're going to use Serum for this task. And what I'd like to do is create something where I can start adding my own color to this. All right. So I'll just make this about 2.5, 3 seconds. Lower the sustain down. Decay and release. So I call this a lead, but it's a little bit shorter than a pad. Okay? Because you really want to start moving around with your fingers on the keys and have that attack just immediate. So around 3 seconds, right? I like an 18 filter here with a lot of resonance. I like a wavetable that I created myself for some color. I like that wavetable to move, maybe with another envelope. We'll create a player's envelope here. 3.5, 3.5. And we'll move the position of that wavetable as I play the keys. So as I play, it's going to move with a unipolar envelope. Good. This sounds good to me. I might do a subtle triangle sub-oscillator, but not too much. Pro tip, sub-oscillators do not need much volume. Okay? Now, I like to douse this in reverb and delay. Put it through my synth bus. Let's see what it sounds like. Let's go up a couple octaves. That's what I'm talking about. So you see, it is really all about making those simple things that seem complicated, but they're really not that complicated. Oh yeah. That's why I like a lot of resonance. Oh my goodness. I love this kind of music. But from here, this could be the beginning of your new adventure. This could be like the start of something great. This could break out into a full-on like arpeggiated sequence, or it could just stay where it's at right here. This could be the apex, or it could be just the beginning. So I encourage you to experiment. I encourage you to dive deeper, and hopefully some of the lessons and techniques and examples I've shown you here today will inspire you to begin your own journey into this kind of music. Nothing's stopping you. And like I said, any of the techniques that I presented here today can be done in any synthesizer. Most of the reverbs and delays that I use in this track could be done in any DAW with stock plugins. So, if you want to learn more, I am on Patreon. I do tutorials like this every single week. The community there is so wonderful, and they totally support me, and I'm really grateful for them. I have tons of preset packs with already pre-made presets. So if sound design isn't your thing and you need more presets, there's almost 100 packs on Patreon. I also do one-on-one ambient coaching. So if you like that personal extra touch and you really want to work one-on-one with me, there's an ambient coaching tier. You can also check out my website where you can download some free stuff, get some merch, and sign up for ambient coaching. All of it's right there at www.scienceoflife.com. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's been my pleasure guiding you on this ambient journey. And I look forward to more tutorials like this in the future. Again, my name is Chris from Signs of Life. Thank you again for watching. Take good care, you guys. And as always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. My name is Chris from Signs of Life. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.